Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We've seen, of course, the provocative remarks come from the Indian Defence Minister, Rajnath Singh, of course, which allude to Indian involvement, constant interference in, of course, foreign countries, Pakistan included. We'll be talking about the ramifications of this very real interference that has been consistent as far as India is concerned. We've also, of course, had, in the light of the Guardian's investigative report, which also states that at least 20 individuals were murdered in Pakistan since 2020 at the behest of Indian intelligence operatives. With this kind of latest, of course, report also, and of course the remarks, in the light of this, what is the way forward? And how do we deal with this as a country, as a nation? Of course, it's condemnable, there's no doubt about that. But overall, the ramifications of this, of course, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs also has consistently taken a stand, as has the government. We'll be talking about the overall ramifications of this. I have with me Aniq Zafar, who's a senior analyst. Thank you for being with us today. We also have with us Brigadier retired Waqar Hassan, who is a defense analyst. Thank you for joining us. We have with us Abdullah Muhammad, who is a senior journalist. Thank you for joining us. And we'll also have other guests during the course of the program. I'm going to start with Brigadier Sahab and then come to you, Aniq Sahab. Brigadier Sahab, overall, as far as these remarks are concerned, certainly the interference, the reality of it, Pakistan is no stranger to this kind of intel. Would you agree with that, firstly?
Yeah, I think we've been highlighting it for a couple of decades now. The Indian, basically involvement in terror activities across the region, and especially in Pakistan, from Afghanistan as well as from Middle East. Now, I think unique thing about this, I think, event or incident is that first time Indian Defense Minister is acknowledging that they've been sending death squads, and I think this is also related to Modi's election because anti-Pakistan stance takes a lot of votes. Now, I think if you recollect, after Israel, the intelligence chief said that they're going to assassinate Hamas, leadership in Middle East and Turkey. I think India is the second state to have confessed now that they also have not only done it, but also they'll continue to do so. I think very, very serious. And from all, I think aspects of international law, UN Security Council, regional frameworks like SCO, where India and Pakistan both are members. This is, I think, very, very unfortunate. I feel that condemnation is not enough. I think Foreign Office and State of Pakistan has to take it to a logical conclusion. And these, I think, rhetorics and linked with, their activities, even in North America, like Canada, we've discussed earlier, assassination of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, and then you had Arthar Singh Khanda in UK, followed by attempt on.
Like you are saying, the instances that you are talking about, these are not new. This is not just, of course, exclusive to Pakistan also now. Canada, of course, is another country that has, of course, the Canadian Prime Minister, he cited credible evidence regarding, the Indian involvement. We saw all that. But where does the buck stop for India? Or is it just, going to function on clout for them, on the fact that, of course, they're a huge market in the world arena? How does, how do we stop this kind of interference, in your opinion?
I think the difference is, I think what has happened in last 6-7 months. You remember after before UNGA and G20 meet in India, this thing came out, and then I'll not repeat what Canadian government did to them, Five Eyes, and the US government has actually arrested some of the raw activists and their handlers. And now we come to Guardian's research-based article, which highlights that they've been sending death squads via Middle East. So I think Middle East, in the sense, is also involved. That we have friends. Probably they don't even know that research analysis wing has cells, and they are sending death squads. So this is, I think, something different. Yes, India has a cloud. Even if you look at how Turkey pursued the Gulenist movement to every country where they felt, although Gulenist movement not directly doing terrorism, but they felt a threat. So they pursued it. I think the onus is on now Pakistan to link it with whatever the West and North America, Canada, US, and I think UK is saying. We also had a case of 8 Indian naval officers, retired officers, who were prosecuted by Qatar. So it means that state is directly involved. You have PM's office, you have NSA's office, and then Ministry of External Affairs, probably Ministry of Defense now acknowledging Rajnath Singh saying that we've done it and we'll do it again. So I think stakes are high. And this is a very good case to be taken to International Criminal Court for FATF, because a lot of money laundering involved in such like activities. And then it's for UN Security Council and all regional forums. SCO has anti-terrorist forum. So I think India has to be taken to task, but it requires will, like Turkey pursued the Gulenist movement. They went to every country wherever their activities were, and they stopped it. So probably Pakistan will have to come forward, because it is directly affecting Pakistan.
Let me include Abdullah in this also. Abdullah, this belligerence that we see coming from India, Brigadier Saab, like said, it's an acknowledgement of the fact that we've done it and we will continue to do this. It has to be, and like Brigadier Saab said, it has to go beyond condemnation. It has to be, action has to be taken, and quick action has to be taken. We've also, ICJ is one option. Do you think it's a perhaps efficient one? It's going to yield the kind of results that we want?
I have some
Abdullah, you're muted, I think.
Are you listening?
Please unmute. Abdullah, please unmute. We can't hear.
I'm already on mute.
Yes, yes. Gee, I can hear you now. I think, Aniq Sab, the same question to you. Overall, we need for this to go beyond condemnation. ICJ, one option, which the Brigadier Sab talked about. Do you think that it's a credible one?
Well, again, Pakistan is a responsible nation, and obviously the response has to be within the ambit of the codes and procedures which are laid out in the international system. And ICJ or different UN platforms are part of that international system. So we will have to approach the international system. We must engage in hectic, aggressive diplomacy, reach out to all those countries who have already reported that Indian intelligence has been involved in such assassinations, or has been involved in trying to assassinate people on their on their territories, and action has been taken by Canada and US. There is one Indian agent under arrest in Czech Republic. So all these countries must be approached, and joint action must be taken. Similarly, Qatar, though we hear that Qatar has now released those eight naval officers, but obviously they were prosecuted and were sentenced. So that means that this concern will, as India gets more belligerent, this concern will spread all over the Committee of the Nations, and we must try to build a joint strategy with these countries.
Let me go to Abdullah with this. Abdullah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I'm listening to you.
Abdullah, do you think that this kind of combined strategy which Aniq Saab was talking about is an option? Because there seems to be a growing concern for other nations also now. Nations, perhaps some of them who looked the other way, are now looking at this kind of interference being bred in and being done to them. So perhaps we will see more action, or do you think that's just an optimistic view?
Yeah, it's very concerning. The Hindustan involvement in third countries regarding the extrajudicial killings is very concerning. In Pakistan, in the last 3 years, RA, the intelligence agencies of Hindustan, RA, killed around 20 Pakistani citizens. And singly in 2023, around 13 Pakistani have been killed inside the territory of Pakistan, in which two major cases which have been investigated by the counter-terrorism department, along with the facilitation of the intelligence agencies, is very concerning cases of Shahid Latif, who was killed in Daska, as well Muhammad Riaz, who was killed in Rawalakot by the Indian intelligence agency. And investigating the investigation which was done by the counter-terrorism department of Pakistan is very high impressive, and they have done it very precisely and very with all the proofs. And it has been concluded in that investigation. I have read some pages of that investigation that two Pakistani citizens who were based in the United Arab Emirates as a labor, and they were hired by the Indian Indian agents, allegedly by raw agents. It's very quite clear that raw agent they were sent to Pakistan to roll up. First, they took the address of the Shahid Latif and Muhammad Riaz, and then they facilitated. And unfortunately, we have. I'm saying it very clearly that we have some intelligence and security failures. An Indian agency was involved in Pakistan or killing Pakistani citizens across the outside Pakistan. And Shahid Latif, who was coming for morning prayers, he was killed. And there was a gang who was hired by the Indian agency RAW. And unluckily, that for the murder of Shahid Latif, it was around 1.5 million. The total cost of that killing was 1.5 million, and the transaction was sent from Dubai in more than 38 installments to Pakistan. And both Pakistani citizens who were involved in the murder of Shahid Latif and Muhammad Riaz were arrested. Is Muhammad Umair and Ubaid Abdullah. Ubaid Abdullah was arrested from Jeddah International Airport, while Muhammad Umair arrested also from Pakistan. And their cases are this time in civilian courts. But unfortunately, Indian extrajudicial killing is not only limited to Pakistan, but it's happening in Canada, it's happening in the United States. Because if you see the Indian Prime Minister Modi have a background, a very aggressive background. He was previously involved in some
I want to talk about the background, also the timing of this overall. Let me go to Brigadier Sahib with this. Brigadier Sahib, do you think it's also, of course, election, very near to the elections? Our Foreign Office has said that this is provocative. Do you think it's designed for that kind of, benefit on the home front as far as Modi's votes are concerned, the kind of, his traditional vote bank that we've seen, which is, of course, very, very extremist, and there is of course a certain tilt to it. Do you think it's that designed for that voter and more for that audience? The kind of remarks that have come.
Yeah, I think in India, especially the BJP election campaign is mainly based on anti-Muslim within India and anti-minorities, and for regional it's anti-Pakistan and whatever they can draw. Although the Guardian's paper is very critical and I think very alarming, and actually should have ashamed the Indian government. But they also now try to, one, of course, do the damage control, then is to basically use this for vote bank within India. So I think especially this Badakov, that will get in Guske Maring and all that. They tried it after, Balakot, and I think they were rebuked by swift retort with Abhinandan going. I think today our defense minister also mentioned. Then they also incited Iran. I think last month there was tension and there was the exchange of fire in Pakistan. Then, of course, re-established the deterrence. So basically, Modi is always looking for, or BJP is looking for trophies, and this I think also allows them to come up with the rhetoric. But I think this is very, very irresponsible. I feel that, as I'll emphasize, that we have to now go beyond that. Just imagine this allegation against Pakistan, or Pakistan defense minister saying that we have hit squads and we send it to India to eliminate, let's say, terrorists who are sent by India. So what could have, there have been a lot of human kind. India could have probably pursued it very vigorously. So that's my point, that now, since we have proofs, the international community is also aware that their state is now involved in sending death squads and terrorism. They have to be taken to task, and I feel this is a very good case to be pursued, or in all domains, like information as we are doing it, and then, of course, diplomatically and lawfare using international law.
Fair enough. Aniq Sahib, do you agree with what Brigadier Sahib is saying? Of course, international law, but the efficacy of international law, and the fact that what it will yield. Of course, we want there to be pressure also. That is, of course, a reality of diplomatic relations between the world. And the fact that a joint action would necessitate that kind of pressure would mean that. Do you think that perhaps it's the way forward?
Well, I mean, you are spot on there. What is the efficacy of this international system where different platforms are available for arbitration, for resolving conflicts? But unfortunately, since last 2-3 years, what we have seen is that international system has failed. First in Ukraine-Russia conflict, then now we see that Israel is using all firepower to subjugate Palestinians in Gaza. And now India, again, a country which wants to flex its muscles and show to the world that it is at par with the world powers. Because previously, as we are aware that international superpowers had been involved in such assassinations, we would be hiding facts if we say that US has not done it in the past, Russia has not done it in the past. They have done it in the past, but India sort of in a roundabout manner admitting that it has done it, because the Foreign Office of India has sort of denied it. But again, Rajnath in a roundabout manner said that yes, we will do it. So India is flexing muscles. It wants to be recognized as an international superpower which has the impunity to assassinate people on other countries' territory. Well, whether the international system will accept it in the long run, we will have to see. But coming back to the point that what options Pakistan has.
Yes, and so also whether we can team up.
Yeah, that is where our diplomatic effort should be. That we should try to convince the world powers that they should not allow India to sort of throw its weight around just because the West thinks, US thinks that India is a counterweight to China. It does not give India a carte blanche to function like this.
I think and the involvement, I'm going to ask Brigadier Sahab, I know that you are short of time, but a quick question. As far as this, the remarks of the Canadian Prime Minister are concerned, and also we've seen as far as the US Department of Justice is concerned, they've also said that there is credible evidence linking the Indian agents to the murder of a Sikh separatist leader in October 2023. When this happens, when this kind of interference happens, do you think that it also leads to the realization that perhaps these nations are also not, they're not insulated from this kind of interference also, and perhaps they are more now amiable or to a joint kind of a action, or a joint kind of condemnation?
Yeah, I think when this comes to the assassination of their citizens, like Canadian citizen being murdered or attempt on US citizen or a UK, so that becomes, I think, very, very serious, because the governments are answerable irrespective of good relations, irrespective of India being Asia pivot and being projected as a counterweight to China. But ultimately, I think there's some semblance of law, domestic and international, that they have to follow. And these are very mature democracies in the West. So when they see that India is stepping out and out of its shoes and now trying to basically browbeat people through this terror campaign or assassination squads, and the ministries are involved, that's why I think Mr. Trudeau directly confronted Modi, and it was very, very embarrassing, and US is already
Brigadier Sahab, thank you so much. Thank you for your very valuable input. We also have Dr. Amna Mahmood, who's a foreign policy expert. Amna, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Amna, we've been talking about the fact that there is this interference as far as India is concerned, and of course it's not just limited to Pakistan now, in the sense that countries like Canada and of course the US Department of Justice also acknowledging that they are interfering in this manner. Can, in your opinion, this lead to a joint kind of action, or you think that this is a route that perhaps is too far in the future for us to think about at this time?
Thank you, Mahrukh. I think that it is very good for us that India publicly acknowledged and publicly accepted that it has been involved in plotting murders and intimidation and all other measures against the suspected Indian enemies outside their borders. And as you just mentioned, that Canada and United States already observed that, and Canada reacted very strongly on that India is violating their sovereignty. Though Pakistan has been raising this issue for a long, and we have presented dossier of Indian terrorism within Pakistani territory against the Pakistani nationals as well. But when it coincides with the Canadian offense behavior and Canada and U.S. Dossier as well, then we can raise this issue internationally, and we can have joint strategy with Canada and U.S. that we have been suffering, and
But do you
now
think that
they
we
are
can,
also
Amna, I'm going to interject
confronted the
here.
same.
Do you think that we can have this joint action? Do you think that they will be amenable? These nations will want to do that, considering, of course, that India has its own place in the world politics, but on the other hand, of course, everybody is, you know, more concerned about their own security and that their own borders remain secure. And you know, it's important to assess how and if other nations are going to look the other way now when it's their own country and its own borders that are the issue.
Yes, you are right. That's why I'm saying that we can raise this issue with the other nations as well, because, you know, in international relations, when nobody stands with you because they follow their own interests, and since India is the center of attention of the whole world, especially the United States and its allies, they have strategic, geopolitical, economic partnership with them, and they are giving it priority and ignoring all their crimes and their all human rights violations and you know, actions against minorities, just because that they want to give India a role in containing China and countering China. But when it comes to the coincidence, when your interests are coinciding, when you are having convergence of interests, naturally, then nations can collaborate. Pakistan can raise this issue on diplomatic front with these countries who have suffered themselves with the Indian terrorism within their territory. Now Pakistan can join hand because they are having convergence of interest. They are facing the same dilemma that their sovereignty has been violating, as Justin Trudeau asserted that their sovereignty is violated because the person who was assassinated, he was Canadian national. And same is the case with the United States. The person who was having attempted murder, he was also U.S. National. So we can have a joint action, and we can raise this point on international forum. And since we are having close collaboration with the United States in other fronts, so we can raise this issue. And diplomatically, now we are in a sound position because India itself accepted, and Mr. Modi's statement and Mr. The Defense Minister of India, old guard
you
of
know, Abdullah also, we are talking about the option of ICJ. In your opinion, how feasible an option is it? Amna? Dr. Amna, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
This was a follow-up question from you. You know, what kind of, do you think it's a feasible option as far as the ICJ is concerned?
Pardon, I could not hear.
The International Court of Justice, and whether that is a credible option, an efficient option for us at all, in your opinion?
No, I think that it can be an option, but it may be on later stage when we can gather all the evidences. And if those evidences can be supported by the legal argument, then we can go to legal International Court of Justice. But before that, we can raise it on diplomatic front, and we can have a combined action with our Western countries, which we have been in alliance with previously, and still we are having good relations with the United States. So I think that we can raise first on diplomatic front, then we can move to any other forum.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to go to Aniq Sab. Aniq Sab, diplomatic front. How important is it that, you know, we agitate on the diplomatic front and, you know, collaborative again with the other nations? As far as US and India's relationship is concerned, do you agree when a charmed relationship, and perhaps it will?
Obviously, US has sort of warmed up to India a lot in the last 2 decades. Particularly last decade or so, it has warmed up to India. India is parts of US's larger geostrategic interest. As everyone knows that vis-a-vis China, India's role is envisaged by the Western countries and particularly US. But again, since US and India have had a history where US and India were not that warm, so there are still issues like recently when Mr. Kejriwal was arrested. Western powers, as usual, when they talk about human rights, they try to balance their approach for all countries. So they talked about Germany talked about Mr. Kejriwal, and US also talked about it. And interestingly, India sort of gave a pushback. As I was saying earlier, that under Mr. Modi, India has an aspiration to be recognized as a world power, and using its large market and its growing economy, it wants to be recognized by the rest of the world as a large power. Though India has not that kind of a military power, it is not recognized as that kind of a military power that can flex its muscles beyond its borders. All superpowers which we know have the capability to function beyond their territories. India has, for the first time, sort of functioned beyond its territories in through non-state actors, you can say, or through clandestine operations or intelligence operations. This is the first time. Coming back to my earlier point, that it will be very interesting to watch how the international system responds to it, whether they allow India to expand its influence and power in terms of functioning beyond its territorial jurisdictions, or international system comes in and stops India. Again, because this is a very precarious situation. Already there are two war theaters in the world, Ukraine, Russia. Israel now sort of the temperature is increasing in the Middle East, with Israel attacking Iran's embassy in Syria. So that is again we can see two flashpoints. If India flexes muscle more tomorrow vis-a-vis China or even Pakistan, does not have much tolerance against such belligerence. So if Pakistan responds, then this theater will become a flashpoint in the world. So whether the world wants that, so I think it is time that Pakistan makes the world realize that Pakistan would not be tolerating this much, and if Pakistan responds, then the world should not be surprised.
Right. Abdullah, do you agree? I think that what Aniq Sahab is saying, he's raised some very pertinent points. He talks about the fact that, of course, we are looking at a world where it's not exactly, there are major issues. Of course, Ukraine, Russia, again, like Aniq Sahab said, I don't want to repeat Palestine, the situation there, Israel overall, and of course our geostrategic position, the importance of it, and also the fact that we are a nuclear nation with a potentially hostile neighbor. All of those things, if we take cognizance of that and the world understands, perhaps now is the time for a joint action then.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Pakistan is fighting a war on terror since around 2 decades, and we are the victims of this war on terror. At first, it's very quite clear that we should make our own house accountable, and then regarding the proxies which has been doing by in India and Pakistan since 2-3 years, that they are killing Pakistani citizens. But I don't think this is a good time to contact ICJ or any international forum, because the cases of other Pakistani citizens who were killed bluntly by RAW in Pakistan are under investigation, and after that investigation in these cases will be investigated by the counter-terrorism department and our intelligence agencies. I think that will be a time to contact any international forum, as will we have to arrange coordinated efforts inside Pakistan to coordinated efforts by Pakistan to eliminate the Indian proxies within Pakistan that they are involved in killing of Pakistani citizens. So India is in very isolated position this time because they have killed their citizens inside Canada as well, United States as well. There are extremism issues inside India, and the Indian democracy is melting with each.
But you don't agree that it's being played up by the Indian, the current leadership of India for its own purposes also?
Yeah, it's Modi. Everyone is aware about the past of the Modi, who is Modi, and about the Gujarat episode, what Modi is involved. And after the arrival of the Modi, you know very well that the space is shrinking with each passing day for all those non-Hindu citizens inside Hindustan, as well as Sikhs, as well as Muslims, as well as Christians have their own issues. So Indian election is approaching very speedily, and if you follow the pattern of the Indian election since 2-3 past election which was conducted by Modi, you can see that they're very adventurous against Pakistan and against these issues. So I believe that since I'm following the happening inside India, that Modi will spread this issue. They will highlight this issue that I have killed the Pakistani citizens which were involved, which is a very fabricated claim of the Modi in terrorism. And there is the sentiments of the Indian citizens at this time in Hindustan that they buy these sentiments and they voted for Modi in the past 2 elections. So this is by design that Modi is doing because election is approaching, and the opposition is the space for opposition has been already shrinked inside Hindustan. So it's by design, and it's due to Indian election because because Modi wants to.
Let me include Dr. Amna in this also. Dr. Amna, this approach, the way that Modi is using these kind of tactics for his own gain, have worked for him in the past. Do you think that India itself, the internal situation as far as India is concerned, is it not ultimately building up for a disaster within India also?
Yes, Mahrukh, I agree with that, and I agree with Mr. Abdullah that India has exposed this by design. They want to have 2 gains out of that. One is that they are using internal Pakistan card, and they are supporting that we are intolerant towards Pakistan, and they are declaring Pakistan a terrorist again and again. You have witnessed the recent assertion by Mr. Jaishankar that we don't trade with terrorists. And this is very, grave allegation on Pakistan. And he is using this all for gain since he has planned 400 seats to have number of constitutional amendment that would change the very, basic structure of Indian constitution, deviating from secularism leading to a Hindu state. So he's planning to use Pakistani card, anti-Muslim, anti-minority, anti-Pakistan rhetoric. Secondly, he exposed this at the time when international community is already engaged on 2 fronts, and they are not in a position to open another front. So they asserted that we will do that, we have done that, and we will continue to do that. So there cannot be any reaction or since I just discussed with the strategic partnership between United States and India and all its allies to contain China, and since we have crisis in South China Sea right now as well, so I think that India want to gain this at international level, that its allies would keep quiet as they are engaged already in Middle East extended crisis. So as you just mentioned, that it would be detrimental for the secular India and Indian democracy, and that would lead to a disaster for India, because if Indian constitution would be changed, Indian constitution would suffer, and the Indian polity would suffer, and ultimately India would go to disintegration, as it is leading to, all these strategies are leading to.
Aniq Saab, of course, the long-term reaction within India, which is what Dr. Amna is talking about, there's, one can see that, and for internal politics of India, all of that. As far as Pakistan particularly is concerned, as far as the UN Charter is concerned, this is a violation of our sovereignty. It's a violation of the sovereignty of those nations where India continues to interference. One wonders why the world continues to look the other way. That's also an important question, right?
This is the most important question, and we have been pointing this out at the start of this program, that the world is giving India some carte blanche because of its large market, its own position vis-a-vis China, and India being part of so many alliances that are now coming up in the Pacific and in the Indian Ocean. So India is a crucial part of all those alliances. But again, as I said, that it is not easy for the world to
call it like it is.
To let it happen in this way, because again, admitting a new member into the world into the club of world superpowers is a very tricky issue. If you admit someone into the club of world superpowers, then there are implications, there are consequences of that. And how will China react to that? So all that has to be calculated by these powers. Before they have that calculus ready, they cannot allow India to be this belligerent. I do believe that the international system has some checks, and I think those checks will kick in, and India will be talked about it. India will be talked to about it by US.
You think it's a natural process that will have to invariably follow?
Yeah, because I do not see there is any appetite in the world to allow another superpower to emerge, and the consequences of that. Again, because we are very well aware that Pakistan is this region is the only region in the world where 3 nuclear powers, or you can say 4th,
and the kind
Russia itself,
we don't
are in the same are bordering each other. So
potential volatility.
Potential volatility is huge for any such tinkering with the international system currently. You can well imagine that when Russia is trying to reassert itself, trying to achieve its past glory, it is creating a lot of chaos in the international system. So whether this so-called New World Order can absorb another world power like India, admitting it that it can, it has the ability, because in the past US has done it, but obviously it was a superpower, so it got away with it.
But the point is, can it continue to get away with it?
Russia has a history of killing some of the former agents inside the UK, but it got away with it because these are huge superpowers. But can India get away with it? I doubt it. So let's see.
Right, fair enough. Let me go to Amna. Amna, there is, do you think the image of India, do you think that the way that these are now, these activities that we've seen across the board in different countries have also exposed India in a manner like never before? And do you think that image of India as as a state that welcomes all religions, that is the kind that they try to promote, has gotten a beating like never before?
Yes, I think that the basic image of India was a colorful nation, having galaxy of different religions, and Indian asserted for a long time, and they played Holi, Diwali all over the world, engaged local population, giving them a picture that was very attractive for them. But once they are close to India, and especially you have seen that in G20 meeting, There was not, honeymoon position. Here, Mr. Biden and Mr. Trudeau both pointed out, and they were ridiculed, especially Mr. Trudeau was ridiculed. He stayed for a day more when they talk about, Manipur and other actions against minorities. They were not accepted. And that exposed India that they are not a responsible state as they present themselves. Same is the case with the question of democracy, as India portrayed itself the mother of democracy. And you see that recently UN pointed out, and Mr. Shankar replied that no, UN is nobody to tell us that what sort of democracy we are having and what our election results are. So it means that things are being exposed, and you see the reaction of Mr. Trudeau, strong reaction and strong protest, and in return they blocked Indian immigration and Indian students' education and admissions as well, because they are reacting the violation of their sovereignty. And at the same time, that is good for Pakistan because US was relying on India as a reliable partner against China. But I think that they are rethinking over it, and they have distanced number of initiatives they were taking very strongly. You see the meetings of Quad and AUKUS are restricted now, and they are more concentrating on Japan and Australia. Australia also distanced itself because they are started having good relations with China now. So they are concentrating for support in Indian Ocean and looking towards South Korea and Japan and Philippines rather than India. India is not included in those meetings coming next day. So I think that India's image is now distorted, and India itself is contributing to that, and India is relying on its economic leverage that it had for the rest of the world, offering a big market and contribution to the world GDP and world businesses. But that is not enough for being a superpower. They are less than a regional power, and they have less capacity to operate apart from their borders, as one of the honorable panelists mentioned. So I think that India is overestimating its leverage in international relations, and that would be not good for Indian status in international roles as they are expecting to have in the near future.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Amna. Thank you for your very valuable time. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Aniq Zafar Saab, thank you for being with us today. Brigadier Retired Waqar Hassan Khan, thank you for joining us. Abdullah Mohammed, thank you for your very valuable time. Overall, of course, perhaps it is a time when the world realizes that India's interference is not just limited to Pakistan. It is now has, of course, been multiplied by several times to other nations like Canada. We've also seen the acknowledgement of it. We've also seen the provocative statement come from the Indian Defence Minister also. And it is perhaps time for joint action against this kind of continued interference in other countries and inside their borders. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.